Time is 5 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the May 2024 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members Amanda Bogner, Mike Kavanaugh, Matt Core, Sarah Howard, Janice Mulhoff, Craig Moody, and Mary Spurgeon. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, Steve Bruckner, our General Counsel with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have 5 members of the public at the Civic Center and 7 members of the public attending on WebEx, also including OPPD employees. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I will now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders.
Welcome, everyone. We'll go over a quick safety briefing for the room. In the event that we had to exit the building, we would use the 2 stairwells on either side to exit outside of the building. If we had to take shelter for severe weather, we'd use the stairwell to go down into the garage area where we would take shelter. We have fire suppression materials, AEDs, and first aid equipment located at both of those exits as well. And we also have additional first aid equipment in the back of the room. This is the summer months. We have already seen some severe weather, so I would make sure that everybody's aware of the severe weather that could be potentially coming at any given moment here in Nebraska and be prepared and watch out for those types of things. Watch out for trips or falls. Make sure that you're safe in your environment and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Josh. Psychological safety, very, very important piece of our safety culture at OPPD, and it's really so that we can ensure an environment where all voices are heard. The work that we do is complicated, it's complex, sometimes it's hazardous, and it's important for everybody to feel like we have a voice and that we can speak up. Healthy conflict is the pillar that I touched on Tuesday. We will have conflict. That's one of the few things that I am pretty sure that we will have in the future. The work that we do, again, is very complicated and it has a lot of trade-offs. And I think creating a culture where we can have healthy conversations as we have conflict and we deal with that conflict. We deconflict as much as we can, and then we learn how to live with different opinions and different outcomes. It's really, really important for us to have a psychological safe culture. I'll mention just quickly on cybersecurity. I mentioned on Tuesday, we're vulnerable all the time, but we're probably the most vulnerable when we are distracted. This is something that we emphasized to our workforce a couple of weeks ago when we were recovering and restoring power from the tornado. When we're all running and trying to restore power as fast as we possibly can, those are the times when bad actors try to exploit our vulnerability. So just a reminder that to always be vigilant, and especially those times when you may tend to be complacent. Next slide, please. Fire safety, being prepared and knowing how to respond in the event of a fire will help mitigate that risk. Don't wait until you have a fire and then figure out where the fire extinguisher is or whether or not it's full. It's very important. We have the luxury in buildings like these at OPPD where we have professionals who do that for us, and that's very, very important. Here's a homework I have for those of you who are paying attention and willing to do this. When you get home tonight, the first thing, maybe after you have dinner, go check your fire extinguishers. Make sure that that they're full. Make sure that they haven't expired. Make sure you know exactly where they are and no one moved it. You will be happy to do that ahead of time. Fatigue awareness is another focus of OPPD. This season is a very, very heavy season for us to work. This is where we have 3 outages, planned outages at our power plants. We have women and men who are working really long hours trying to bring those units back online as scheduled, and we're aware of the fatigue element of working so many hours for so many days, and the same thing applies for our linemen when they're restoring power. So it's something important that we need to pay attention to and foster a culture for our employees to raise their hands, say, I'm tired. It's okay. It's human to be tired, and it's human to feel fatigue, and don't put others at risk. But last one, material handling. We've had 55 injuries during the past 5 years involving material handling work activities. And 12 of those were severe enough that they became what we call DARTs, which is days away, restricted, or transferred. which was about 151 days away and 470 restricted days for our employees. So that's another big focus of ours. It's not only people who are climbing on poles or working directly on our machines, but it's all the material handling that happens on a daily basis in our warehouses, in our fuel supply. So that's another very important area of focus. And that concludes my safety briefing.
Thanks very much. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of this meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. The meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions from staff, and then I will ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone in the center of the room. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in the room. Ms. Lane will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane, and she will receive them on our behalf. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message using the chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the OPPD website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer on the screen and signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from pulling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and is prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll call?
Director Bogner? Here. Director Kavanaugh?
Here.
Director Core?
Here.
Director Howard?
Here.
Director Mulhoff?
Here.
Director Moody?
Here.
Director Spurgeon?
Here.
Director Williams?
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPPD outlets, newsletter, OPPD.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on May 10, 2024. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in the meeting room. The consent agenda action items are as follows. Item 6, approval of the March 2024 financial report, April 2024 meeting minutes, and the May 16, 2024 agenda. Item 7, approval of the 2023 annual health plan report, resolution number 6647. Item 8, SD 15, enterprise risk management monitoring report, resolution number 6648. Item 9, SD 3, access to credit markets monitoring report, resolution number 6649.
There are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second to approve these items.
So moved.
Second.
Do any members of the public in the room have comments on these consent agenda items? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium.
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. This is with respect to your enterprise risk management. The print was real small on that slide, but I would say you missed a few items. You have a real high risk that K-Junction Solar will not be built, Cass County Solar will not be built, and that your net zero carbon policy will cause forced blackouts in January. With respect to reputation risk, you are at very high risk that OPPD customer owners reject your net zero carbon policy and figure out it is a complete scam. And I've got a Monmouth University chart, which I'll show you, and less than half of Americans believe that climate change is a very serious problem. And if OPPD customers were polled, I don't think it'd even be 25%. And we just had a primary election. You were all elected by the public, and you're supposed to be responsive to public opinion, and you clearly not. We also have another risk that your wind turbines won't generate the power. Look at this. This is from the EIA, official federal government. 6.2 gigawatts of new wind capacity were added last year, but the production was down. Now, why is that? I submit that all the good spots for wind have been taken. So moving on to access to credit markets. I see Mr. Bishop had a very nice chart, keeping you within your debt ratios. Total annual senior and subordinated lien debt interest, 2-to-1. And, you know, your new deal with the criminal convicted corporation, NextEra Energy Resources, that's all off balance sheet. You just pay them for power. You don't have to borrow money for that. But the real thing that caught my attention is I read your little report from your multidimensional or intergovernmental team. And it looks to me as if you're thinking about getting into the money lending business. Well, I'll tell you absolutely, as a matter of legal opinion, but I also think black letter law, you have no authority to lend money to anybody for anything. You have the power to borrow money. Unicameral's given you that, but you have not been given the power to lend money. And your interdisciplinary team probably should have called Fraser Stryker and told
30 seconds.
they would have told you didn't have any authority to lend money for energy equipment or energy efficient equipment, because there's this maxim of law. The expression of one is the exclusion of other. Unicameral says you can borrow money, but you can't lend money. You got to have special authorities, statutory authority. So I imagine every bank in the state of Nebraska would be highly upset to find out that they're in competition in the money lending business from a governmental entity that has a very low cost of funds. Thank you very much.
Are there any other comments in the room regarding the consent agenda items? Are there any comments online regarding the consent agenda items? Hearing none, roll call.
Director Bachner,
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Corr,
Yes.
Director Howard,
Yes.
Director Mulhoff,
Yes.
Director Moody,
Yes.
Director Spurgeon,
Yes.
Director Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next item on our agenda is the President's Report. CEO Javier Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair Williams. As always, we start with our generation fleet, just a report on the month of April. As you can see, Nebraska City Unit 1 had a capacity factor of 27%. Nebraska City Unit 1 entered into what I mentioned earlier, a planned outage about halfway through the month of April, actually April 20th. So that's the reason why you see a lower capacity factor. This is not uncommon. We have to perform regular maintenance, and sometimes those outages are longer, sometimes they're shorter. But this is where we take the opportunity between the winter and the summer months to perform maintenance. It's very, very important that these units are ready, but it's also very important for us to bring them back online as fast as we can, with good quality and always looking at the safety of our employees. Nebraska City Unit 2 was available 100% of the time, and you can see the lower capacity factor because just like last month, I mentioned these are the shoulder months where there's strong wind penetration in the region, and that allows for other resources to come in and provide energy while we can keep that unit at a slightly lower output than what otherwise would be in a different time of the year. North Omaha Unit 4 was available for the most part, and same story. It had a capacity factor of 57.7%. North Omaha Unit 5 was out for the entire month. It hasn't come back online, but that's another planned outage that we expect that unit to come back online sometime in the next few weeks. Next slide, please. Our balancing generation, as expected, it's during the same time when our baseload generation is out for maintenance, we see our balancing generation up and busier than usual. And this is not the exception. Cass County Station, both units combined, experienced a capacity factor of 0.5%. Jones Street, less than 3%. Sarpy County was a 6.5%. And even our North Omaha Unit 3, 5.6%. I point this one out because we've had a fantastic relationship with the Metropolitan Utilities District, who made fuel available for that particular unit, and it has proven to be very beneficial for the region, as that unit helps provide voltage support and stability to our system. Next slide. Renewables, once again, this is the story of the shoulder months. Capacity factor for renewables was just shy of 53%, where community solar is 28%, is ramping up as days are getting longer. And capacity factor for wind was just shy of 50%. Wind was very, very strong in the region, and it shows here in the capacity factors. Next slide, please. This is really exciting. I talked about this on Tuesday. There was an article in the World Herald yesterday, but this is really, really important, and I really didn't want to miss the opportunity to announce the new acquisition and the partnership that we entered in with Google and with Nextera to acquire capacity for High Banks Wind Energy Center. This is 600 megawatts of nameplate capacity that now we are able to accredit to OPPD's name. Just fantastic. It helps us meet our requirements and our accreditation requirements with the Southwest Power Pool and continue to serve our customer owners. Energy from this facility started flowing into the grid sometime in December of 2023. So now with this agreement, we are able to put that capacity under our name, benefiting our customer owners. Just a fantastic show of good partnership, creative thinking. How can we all get together and solve a resource adequacy challenge we have in front of us and do it at a way that it's cost competitive. It continues to advance our goal to meet net zero carbon by 2050, and it improves reliability. It's just a great example of how we can do all three together. Not on this slide, but I would like to just pause here really quick. There was another thing that I didn't talk about on Tuesday, and I asked for permission here to talk about this. Literally, as we were having our meeting on Tuesday morning, the Southwest Power Pool experienced an injection of about 81 megawatts of energy into the system. Guess where that came from? Platteview Solar, online, already injecting energy into the grid, which is a fantastic achievement. We will have an opportunity to celebrate and have a ribbon cutting ceremony. It may not be as momentous because the facility is already injecting power, and we're doing this at the same time as we're experiencing our rates being 17% below the regional average and 30% below the national average. We're doing this in a fiscally responsible manner. We're transitioning, we're growing our portfolio, and we're doing it all on behalf of our customer owners, which I think it's an important point of celebration that I wanted to share with the board and with our public. Next slide, please. As we talked about on Tuesday, there was a presentation about our dollar energy savings loans. Excited to announce our new energy efficiency financial solution. We're partnering again. The partnership word continues to be a common denominator here with the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy and with Dollar Energy Savings Loans Program, where OPPD is now offering low-interest loans to residential and small, medium business customers to help our customer owners save on their energy usage. As they save on their energy usage, they're helping us solve the challenge we have in front of us of resource adequacy. It helps them save money on their electric bill, and they repay back those loans. Those funds are then available to be used again in a revolving manner, which is very, very important. It provides an affordable pathway for moderate income households to access OPPD energy efficiency rebates and maximize their energy-related improvements to their homes. Next slide. The first ever energy assistance program pop-up network event took place on Wednesday, May 8th, just a few days ago, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is a new program we're testing out. We call it the pop-up programs. A collaborative event with the Latino Resource Center of the Midlands, Family Housing Advisory Services, United Way 211, and the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. This is where community partners and OPPD staff were on site to help customers with enrolling in the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP, OPPD's Energy Assistance Program, and answering billing questions. Just earlier today, I was talking to one of our employees, and he was telling me how excited he was about this event, not only because of the attendance and the information that was shared, but because we were able to solve problems right there on the spot. People who had been disconnected for whatever reason, they came in and we were able to connect back again, answer questions, get everything back on track. And it was just a really good way for us to go where our community members live, where they work, where they play, and help and solve issues and improve on their energy efficiency, which I'm very excited. We're looking at doing these more. This was the first of many that are coming up. You can see here there were 43 customers that were assisted. And on average, $331 was the Energy Assistance Program benefit per customer served, which is very, very important. Next slide, please. Greener Together program. This is not new, but what's new is the new round of awards in partnership with the Urban Bird and Nature Alliance and Habitat for Humanity. Greener Together members were invited to participate in the Urban Bird and Nature Alliance's Greener Together tree planting project on May 4th. There were about 30 volunteers, including a few Greener Together members, who planted 145 trees in and around Habitat for Humanity's new Bluestem Prairie neighborhood in North Omaha. This project was selected in the fall of 2023 by Greener Together, and we reported that at the time. And it was awarded $50,000. This project is one of 6 projects funded by the Greener Together program. And if you want to learn more about this, you can go to oppd.com/GTP. Stands for Greener Together program. On the award recognition forum, we talked about safety. I talked about safety earlier, about fatigue awareness, et cetera. It's no surprise, and it's really not new to us. And OPPD was awarded with Nebraska's Safest Company Award just a few days ago on May 1st. The National Safety Council Nebraska chapter awarded OPPD with the Nebraska Safest Company Award with distinction. This award recognizes and celebrates companies who make safety a priority, have a commendable safety program, and impeccable safety records based on their industry and size. OPPD has an exemplary safety record, which is 50% better than national average compared to our industry classification, and has implemented comprehensive safety programs. This is important. We've been working on this for years. We just had the retirement celebration of Kevin McCormick, our Vice President of Safety, who helped build that up. And I'm incredibly proud of what Gina Langle is doing with that team, and continue to be celebrated and recognized, not only regionally, but at a national level. Thank you, Gina, for all you do and your team does. Next. Honoring our community, we have two events that happened last month. One was the Arbor Day at Lauritsen Gardens. The celebration was on Tuesday, April 23rd. It brought nearly 2,000 elementary students from around the area. Employees from our forestry and sustainability environmental affairs teams helped them plant a tree for the ceremony and then engage in fun activities. And then on the right side of the screen, on Earth Day, which it was actually on April 22nd, but the celebration at Elmwood Park was on April 27th. We had employees from our product development and marketing team, as well as from our sustainability and environmental affairs, represented OPPD at the City of Omaha celebration for Earth Day. They showcased energy savings products and services, including solar rebates and the Greener Together program, and had conversation with the public about OPPD sustainability efforts, including our brand new sustainability playbook. So very excited about both events. We were blessed with good weather, which was not the case in the days previous and after. So we were happy to see that good weather on those days. Speaking of weather, I don't think this is news to anybody. Of course, we experienced a very violent storm and tornadoes in our region, in our service territory, less than a month ago. On April 26, storms produced large tornadoes, straight light winds, and hail, which greatly impacted many of our customers. OPPD personnel focused on safety and core business to address power outages and downed lines. Once it was deemed safe, true to OPPD's core values, more than 50 employees began volunteering at various sites in the community, and way more of them continue to do so today. We had line crews coming in for mutual aid. I want to thank the line crews from MPPD, from Loop Public Power, and then some private line crews from Ellie Myers and other companies who did a fantastic job. They responded to the call, and we were able to restore power and rebuild transmission lines either permanently or on a temporary basis within 4 days of the event, which is remarkable considering the damage. And I don't think I can do justice just talking about this. So our public affairs and communications team put together a video that I would like to share with you so that you can hear from the voices of those who were actively restoring about their experience.
The restoration efforts for the April 26th storm went really well. And that has a lot to do with our preparation and the performance of the team and the field folks through the restoration effort. As far as execution goes, our field folks did amazingly. I can't overstate how well we performed. Not only because of the difficulty of the conditions they were working in, but how the community was viewing the work we were doing and when we were doing it. They were doing it at all hours of the night in very hard conditions. When reports of tornadoes come in and when you start to see footage of the damage that had occurred, it really is heartbreaking. But from a storm restoration standpoint, your mind instantly jumps to, okay, what can we do to help? What can we do to start this effort so that we can start to bring back this critical service that helps people restore their normal lives? So as soon as it's safe, then we start rolling on those restoration efforts.
One of the first calls that we got in emergency management on the Friday that this happened was trying to bring in experts of OPPD to help those support efforts out in the Ramblewood area.
You know, the storm came midday, and the timing of the storm is actually pretty decent for us. We were able to always hold our OPPD employees, but we elected to hold the contractors as well. And we really wanted the employees to be able to respond quickly, and that's what happened. We had 10,500 customers out at once. No different than any outage recovery. We hit the biggest items first. Our distribution system supplies power to our customers. Our transmission system supplies power across the country where we can share power.
As a part of this storm, we not only saw damage to the distribution system, but also saw great impacts to the transmission grid. We had 5 transmission lines that were on the ground. One of those transmission lines was a main thoroughfare for energy flow into the northern part of our service territory. That created regional impacts. This storm was unique in that we had very significant damage to very small localized areas of our service territory. So as we restored large portions of these circuits, we also had to get boots on the ground to go out and look at service by service what the damage was and how we could safely restore those customers.
This is what the front line get to experience. A troubleshooter, like a rig back here, he shows up in the deepest, darkest times. He potentially is there before the police have been there, right? And so they recognize it right away, so they have to tuck their emotions away when they go to work. They still need to work safe, they still need to get the work done, but they're the first ones to experience that. Eli is the manager out here at Elkhorn Center. I think one of his employees, as he went out to collect meters from houses that just would not be reconnected, started tossing these meters in a box. You know, when that employee got back to the center, he just recognized himself like, these are lives, right? This is a home that will not be restored as it is. That is somebody's life, right? That is significant. That's somebody's home there that'll never be the same.
There's a lot of other elements that go into a response. OPPD has a very robust customer service division that helps with our customer call-in data. We also have government affairs that communicates directly with our government entities. Our safety team is instrumental in a response because they go out and help not only the linemen that are active out there, but also the Emergency Operations Center. Public Affairs does a really good job communicating with our media outlets, monitoring and communicating through social media. And we also have technical services that really brings it all together and ensures that the communication and coordination is efficient and effortless across the district.
And what we represented to the general public was that
this wasn't permanent. This was something that they can recover from because OPPD's out there doing the work to restore this critical service to them. So can't state more than enough how proud I am of those folks.
I want to just to thank you to everyone, OPP employees, our neighbors, our community. This is how we do things. This is Nebraska, right there, coming together, helping each other out, and restoring power as fast as we can, and then having the sensitivity to realize, there are many families today who their lives were turned upside down, and still receiving help and assistance and figuring out how are we going to be resilient and come out on the other side stronger than we came in. Last, but certainly not least, speaking of heroes, this is where I always talk about those employees who we lost in the line of duty. Edward Ronka, who died on April 16 of 1946 while working on a 7600 volt line in Bellevue. He was attempting to fasten his safety belt when he made contact with the line. He was 56 years old at the time of his death, with 26 years at OPPD. He was survived by his mother, 2 brothers, and 5 sisters. And this is a good reminder that the work we do should never be taken for granted. Safety should never be taken for granted. And that concludes my safety briefing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do have a couple follow-up items there regarding the President's report. We talked about the dollar and energy savings loan program on Tuesday in some detail, and you included a slide here. I just wanted to make sure we were clear that the origination and servicing of the loan is handled by Nebraska lending institutions and not directly by OPPD. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Appreciate the clarification there. Thank you. Secondly, I think there was a significant announcement on Tuesday of the High Banks Wind Energy Center project. And while I don't think that there has been an appropriate level of public understanding of how important that is to our portfolio, I just want to make sure that there is significant appreciation to everybody who put in the work to make that happen. And that is a huge accomplishment and a huge step forward. So thank you again to you and to the executives and to the employees who delivered that project so successfully for us. And similarly, Platteview Solar. I know Director Mulhoff is just as excited as I am since the project is located in her community. But seeing that project come online, that roughly doubles all of the installed solar in Nebraska. And from my understanding, that is about a 15% increase in all of the solar in the entire SPP footprint. So I have been watching the SPP grid status for quite a while to see that bump up. And it is noticeable already this week. So again, a huge step forward and significant appreciation to everybody who is involved in that project and bringing that online as well. Lastly, and certainly not least, sincere appreciation and recognition to the employees and contractors and the mutual aid response that we received for the tornado. Emergency response and disaster recovery is when our policies and programs and planning is tested. Directors receive some questions, but we largely are responsible to step out of the way and allow the employees who have been preparing to carry out the work that is necessary to do that critical restoration. And this video and the stories we have heard have been an excellent demonstration of all of the commitment and all of the work that we have put in being executed successfully and restoring those 10,000 customers and doing all of the work that's necessary to respond in such a challenging time. So again, thank you to everybody who is involved. And I appreciate having this video presented today to make sure that we all understand the amount of work that goes into that, because I don't believe that any of us personally were directly impacted, but that knowing what our employees did to respond for our community is very helpful in seeing that first line response when it does happen. So thanks for making that available to us and as part of the meeting today. With that, the last item on our agenda is an opportunity for comment on other items of district business. Are there comments in the room?
David Begley, 4611 South 96th Street. With respect to the loan program, I've got this little slide from your committee meeting. It says OPPD funded. That seems to me like you're in the lending business, but maybe I'm wrong. So you've got this new contract with NextEra Energy Resources. Well, I will inform you that this is a criminal company convicted in federal court in Wyoming and is still on probation. And in the minutes, I will give you the exact docket entry from federal court. And also, you should read the Department of Justice press release because it's very interesting. This company is a scofflaw company. They were 10 years killing American eagles before the Department of Justice indicted them. So these are bad people that you're in business with. Well, apparently OPPD doesn't mind. But the thing that kind of gets to me is I wish OPPD would stop saying that wind energy is reliable. That's the 2 + 2 = 5 argument. And I'll just remind you what Michael Corleone said in The Godfather. Don't tell me that wind turbines are reliable because it insults my intelligence and makes me very angry. Another thing we got going on here is, last month, Director Williams says this is not a debate. Well, it actually is a debate. This is politics. And I'm trying to convince 5 people on this board to dump your foolish net zero energy policy. And we also heard from Director Williams that scientific consensus. Well, let me tell you about the consensus over the years. The Earth was the center of the galaxy. Slavery was a good thing. DDT was a good pesticide. Then a very favorite of mine, the Vietnam War was vital to the interests of the United States. But the consensus changed because of free speech and critical thinkers like Begley. So I would suggest to you to read David Halberstam's The Best and the Brightest and see how bad groupthink is. And what was the result of the Vietnam War? I'll remind you, 58,000 dead. And the very first man to die in the Vietnam War was Major Dale Buse from Pender, Nebraska. We also heard that CO2 is killing the planet. Well, we got a report from a PhD in physics.
30 seconds.
And he says CO2 was much higher and that CO2 is actually beneficial for plant growth. And then, our consensus, well, the academics want funding, so they come up with this stuff. We got the fake hockey stick from Michael Mann. Then here's the latest report. Same-sex couples face higher climate change risks, new UCLA study. So there you are. That's what the academics are up to. And there's more in the materials, and I'll probably bring them up again next month. Because all my stuff that I'm telling you is real important. Thank you.
Are there additional comments in the room?
Okay. Laverne Drain, 114th and West Maple Road. So I'm here to hopefully the last installment of SMRs, the small modular reactors. Anyway, so the fact check, is nuclear energy good for the climate? No. CO2 emissions of nuclear power, the whole picture I have here. Stanford-led research finds small modular reactors will exacerbate challenges of highly radioactive waste. Reason that is because they use salt in the small modular reactors, which makes them corrode faster, and then you'll have to do a lot of refinement when it's done to pull that salt back out of the waste. And then, of course, the SMM hype cycle, and that's where we're at now, and that's what I really am discussing about. The reason I brought all this up is because OPPD is participating in siting a new nuclear power plant with the state of Nebraska and NPPD. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember the board ever agreeing to that or making a vote or anything to direct the management to do that. I don't remember the board that agreed on building a new nuclear power plant, which then you might need to site. So I'm wondering why, and the only place I can find who made this decision was I'm going blank, the guys that go down to the legislature and lobby, the lobbyists who agreed when it was brought up in a committee meeting. Now, the committee meetings weren't really committee meetings because the legislature never created a committee to find a nuclear power plant. They denied that. So these committee meetings were kind of rogue by rogue senators. Now, luckily, the senator that started all this, he's going to be gone next year because he's term limited, thank God. But maybe he was just looking for a nuclear energy job. I'm not sure. But they held another committee meeting, which was invite only. And of course, they didn't invite me. They only invited pro-nuclear people. The NPPD guy showed up and was extolling all of this. And this is what the hype cycle is all about. This is all about vendors produce low-cost estimates, which they have, and you guys have talked about. Advocates offer theoretical explanations as why new nuclear technology would be cost competitive, and then government authorities then bless the estimates by finding studies from friendly academics. And that's what's happening right now. And that's why they had those meetings at the legislature. And that's why you're currently looking for a nuclear power plant site, even though you don't even plan to build one. So I'm asking, why does a lobbyist get to direct the resources and the finances and the time and energy
30
of this
seconds.
utility? And the board seems to be completely left out of it. Why did they get to decide that? And are they going to decide other things that they want to search for, like, you know, a union union guy who was killed years ago? We're going to go find his body. You know, so what other things do they get to then tell you what to do? And so correct me if I'm wrong, I really would like to know why the board didn't agree on any of this. And for some reason, our resources and our time is being spent on finding a new nuclear spot. And of course, the nuclear industry will be able to say, well, it wasn't us who found it. It was your elected officials who decided where it was. It wasn't us. So am I done? Okay,
That's time.
10 more seconds. Anyway, well, thank you and congratulations on all the improvements of the solar and the wind and all the rest, the efficiency projects. There we go.
Thank you. President Fernandez, would you like to comment on?
Yes, I directed the organization to participate and to collaborate with the Nebraska Public Power District. They received funding from the state, and it's important for us to explore all options. Important for us to collaborate and figure out, are there ways for us to explore what could be the future of energy. We have a gigantic resource adequacy challenge in front of us as we're meeting electrification, decarbonization, and climate change already here in front of us. So I think it's important for us to not close any doors. And so I have the authority vested to me through the BLs to do that. And so that's why I did. And I kept members of the board appraised of these. So clarify.
Great, and I can confirm that we did discuss the potential for nuclear energy during both of our recent resource recommendations from staff, both in 2019 and again in 2023, and highlighted the cost challenges as the reason why it was not a desired priority for the organization at this time, but that it would continue forward. And board members were aware of that and involved in the discussions, most of which was done in public formats at the all committee meeting or at the board meetings. So there's a lot of record of our discussions on this topic in the past for anyone who was interested. Thank you for the response. Are there any other comments in the room? Are there any comments online?
David Corbin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. It's a little bit quiet, so maybe speak up.
Okay. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Nebraska Sierra Club. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your awards, your community activities, and your storm response. I know that took a lot. It was announced that at one of the public meetings that you're hiring a diversity hire or something related to environmental justice. I wondered when we might be able to find out where you are on that particular job. I'm disappointed in that you didn't choose a program that would help people with lower income for that loan program. It's aimed at middle class. And I just want to point out this one whereas, I don't remember the number of your resolution, but it says, whereas in accordance with Powering the Future to 2020-50, OPPD shall engage with local, educational, public health, and community-led organizations in carrying out a process that includes engaging the North Omaha community in understanding the benefits and developing action plans to reduce overall impacts related to ongoing operations of the North Omaha station for area residents. I don't think the program that you chose meets up with that. This is where the Solar for All, the Omaha Climate Action Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act can be linked together to help the North Omaha community vis-a-vis the continued burning of coal at the North Omaha station. One thing I don't know about the announcement for the Google and wind energy is what percentage of the energy Google will be using and what is available for the rest. And that would be a nice thing to know about. And then I'll just end with something that I've been talking about and many others have talked about. Certainly when you introduced your $30 per month fixed rate, our argument at the beginning is something that's happening to many people now, and that is the fixed costs in many months are higher than the energy use costs for people. And so I hope that you will re-examine that fixed cost, and maybe as you go to your AMI, you'll be able to
30
do
seconds.
better than that. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. There were a number of specifics, and I expect responses will come on most of those when they are available, including the staff and other details about future rate structures. I think those will be discussed in future meetings. Some of those will be discussed at the appropriate time in future meetings. Right, yes. Thank you for the clarification of that. Yeah. Are there other comments online?
Ryan Wishart.
Of North 49th Street. I'd like to echo what David Corbin said about the congratulations on the new wind power and the investments in energy demand reduction. I think it is encouraging to see OPPD working with Google to ensure that the new demand they're bringing onto the system is going to be less likely to result in new fossil generation or new fossil pollution with this partnership. So that's great. Likewise, investing in low interest rate energy efficiency loans is a good way to pursue the utilities goals in demand management. However, I also think it's disappointing that on-bill financing was not pursued, in part because in the past, when I and others had advocated for exploring on-bill financing, this was because of the unique ways in which that can make energy efficiency upgrades available to low-income and energy-burdened households. It's been several years now since OPPD undertook the very important research they did of identifying the extent and distribution of household energy burden. I know that in the committee, it was mentioned that it consulted with think tanks such as EEIS. However, EEIS, I think, in general pursues forms of on-bill financing which are connected to loans. So I wanted to just share a bit from a EPA resource that I'll share with the board and staff via the contact online form later. EPA says tariffed on-bill programs, also referred to as inclusive utility investment programs, enable utility to pay for cost-effective energy efficiency or other clean energy upgrades at a customer site. The utility recovers those costs through a fixed site-specific charge on a customer's monthly utility bill that is less than the estimated savings from bill reductions. These types of programs, unlike on-bill loan programs, are accessible to all customers because they do not require consumer credit or income qualification. There's no required upfront cost to the customer, and the cost recovery is associated with the meter rather than the individual. These attributes help make building energy efficiency upgrades accessible to renters, energy-burdened households, those that lack capital or credit, and those unwilling to accept a personal debt obligation to pay for the upfront costs of clean energy upgrades, all of which can be significant barriers to consumer investment improvements. It goes on to say that when developing a financial program
30 seconds.
to overcome upfront cost barriers, considering the process can help decision makers create a comprehensive program and incorporate consumer protections. Decision makers can evaluate how and to what extent marginalized communities and considerations of equity have been included in the policymaking process for developing a program by considering the following questions. Have marginalized communities, consumer protection organizations, and organizations serving marginalized communities participated meaningfully in the policymaking process? Does the policy help address the impacts of inequity or inequality? Thank you.
Perhaps we have a new alarm. 3 minutes has expired. Thank you for your comments. Are there any additional comments online?
John Pollock.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. First, am in agreement with the comments by David Corbin and Ryan Wishart about the basically everything they talked about. So in the interest of brevity, I would like to say that I think it's encouraging that you did that energy assistance program pop-up. I think that one of the barriers that lower income people have in dealing with the systems that they have to is too much bureaucracy and paperwork. And any outreach that actually helps people navigate their problems, including the energy assistance program, is a good idea, and I encourage you to keep doing it. Regarding the weather, we heard from Mr. Begley about a physicist, but I would like to remind you that most physicists are not meteorologists. Right now, we have a weather situation where we're going to enjoy several days of really nice weather here going into the weekend. However, the overall pattern has not changed. We have a large high pressure ridge that's unseasonably early developing and is parked over Western Canada, which is why we've already been getting forest fires up there and incidents of smoke down here. That pattern is stalled, it's not shifting. So not only will those fires continue to develop, but it also forces the jet stream underneath that pattern, and that puts us in periods of active weather. We've already had severe weather that, of course, you're familiar with in late April. We're not out of the woods on that stuff because every system that comes by once every few days will have a danger of severe weather coming with it, and it looks like that pattern will continue for a couple of weeks at least. In fact,
30
the
seconds.
outlook even the outlook into June is for above normal precipitation, and June is typically the wettest month we have around here. So we'll need to remain alert for severe weather. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments online? Great. No additional comments online. With that, that concludes our agenda. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much, everyone.